guess the best thing about IKAWA, it's always portable. And we understand that coffee actually changes and behaves very differently in different climate, in different weather, in different humidity. So that's why we choose to bring IKAWA over. Gives us a huge advantage when it comes to open service, when it comes to roasting our coffee.
So when it comes to roasting this coffee, the environment is important too, particularly humidity. As the amount of water vapor in the air will affect how efficiently heat is transferred from the drum to the bean itself. Therefore, we roasted this coffee in a controlled humidity room. This will help to ensure that we break down all the sugars and acids in a dense varietal like geisha.
I think for IKAWA wise, we love it because it's very consistent in terms of duplicating the profile. So of course, I have no worries in terms of let's say, hey, I want to duplicate something that is exactly the same if I were to roast 10 different batches. So it's good that I can do that easily. So we got the Pro100. That's the first time that we are actually using the Pro100. So we did some adjusting in Singapore. So when we were in Melbourne, I guess there is not much of a big changes to the profile because it was very stable in terms of over in Melbourne and also in Singapore.
So we actually used IKAWA in Boston as well in 2019 when we were at the Wolves. And then in Singapore, not so much. So because we don't actually own the unit, it was a unit that we borrowed from our friend. So we are actually very lucky to get to use it again for Wolves because we love the Pelican case. I think that is one of the best thing ever because it really makes travel so much better.
What I really like is about the interface is very easy to use, very easy to adjust. So I can actually compare in terms of the profile wise, if I make certain adjustment, it's very easy for me to understand what's going on. I think when it comes to Brewers Cup, how I usually want to roast is, first of all, as a roaster, I will roast to what I like. I think that's the best. But of course, I think after that, it's about the competitor, how he or she wants to, in this case, it's for her, how she wants to bring out the coffee or how can I adjust a certain way so that she can brew it to something that she wants. First, we did the profiling. So once we were happy with the profile, so I start duplicating batches. And I use 2 batches a day to actually start brewing, see do we find it tasting the best at the point of time. So we actually uses it on the day 4. We're pretty happy with day 4 and we just stick to it. I think for profiling, I did 7 to 8 profiles over there. So that's 800 grams. Okay. Then to test out, I think we did 5 to 6 days. So each day, I think we had about 150 to 200 grams roasted. So that will be probably another kilo. So we bought over less than 2 kilos over.
We don't usually get that experience for Brewers Cup to serve your coffee after your open service. And I think I was really lucky to be the first competitor. We actually chose to use a coffee that we have been working very closely with, or rather a producer that we have been working very closely with since the beginning of Homeground in 2017. So this coffee, it's also the same coffee that I used in Boston, the same coffee that I used in my national this year in 2022, and the same that I use in the world. So it has always been this coffee. It shows that how much I really love this coffee. So it's a coffee from the farm called Serra Azul. It's a natural anaerobic process. So because the coffee has this very unique note of cognac, so the producer, Rigoberto Herrera, he actually named it after a cognac called Napoleon. So you have this lingering cognac note that I would say that I haven't come across it in any other coffees yet. So that's why when it comes to whether is it roast profiling, or brewing, it's much easier for us because we know the coffee really well for at least 3 to 4 years for now.
Having an IKAWA for me is like finding the so-called right profile that we like before we actually use it on the drum roaster. So when greens arrive, we actually screen the coffee. So I will take note of like how I actually roast them on the IKAWA. So before I throw it into a production roaster. So instead of like throwing like 15 kilos in, I start profiling with like 100 grams or 50 grams before I actually not waste any coffee.
If you are someone who really wants to kickstart your whole roasting journey, ensuring that you want to give quality coffees to your consumer, IKAWA is something that you should definitely invest in because it is easy and it is a good way to translate what you have on IKAWA to your production, because it helps you to understand how the coffee changes and react. And with Pro100, you have a bigger batch size. You can actually cup it, you can brew it. So it's much easier as compared to if you were to use if you just throw in the whole load into the drum roaster, not knowing what would happen. It's the same thing that like a barista would ask you, or a beginner would ask you, I do not know how the coffee tastes like. But I think very often this is a real problem, but no one will actually know how the coffee tastes like until you roast it. So how do you know that whether is it right or not? So using IKAWA can help you to find out more about this coffee and what is the point or what is the profile that you want to portray it to your consumers or people who loves your coffee.